Hey guys, what's up? It's me, MC Matador here, and today I am bringing you the final video that I will do for the basically the decade. This is the last video I'll put up for the 2019 calendar year, effectively making this the last video of the decade on my channel, and it's not going to be anything special to reflect the decade. I haven't been around long enough to justify that, and I've already done my big review thing when I hit 100 or 200 subs or whatever it was. But today, I am bringing you a review of one of my favorite coasters that I've ridden, actually my actual favorite coaster that I've ridden in the 2019 season, Lightning Rod at Dollywood. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with this. You've probably either ridden it or it's on somewhere on your bucket list. I'm just going to make the assumption that everyone knows what Lightning Rod is, but if you don't, you can kind of get a feel for what it is just from my review, as well as some of the more technical details that you won't get if you haven't ridden it. We have the drop first. It's going to follow the standard 7 to 8, or it's going to be 8 because of the launch review procedure. The drop is fast, steep, and does provide quite good ejector airtime in the back. It does basically crest the lift, go into a small dip, pop up, and then go down the drop in the hilly terrain. It's a great drop, but it's far from the strongest moment of the ride. I personally prefer drops on our other RMCs such as Goliath and Iron Rattler more than Lightning Rod, but it's still mid to high tier when it comes to RMC drops, as well as Steel Vengeance. I prefer that drop too. Intensity, this thing is non-stop intensity from beginning to end. The quick launch, the drop, there's really no dull moment, there's no slow moment on this ride. This thing gets a perfect 10 out of 10 in intensity. There are forces coming at you from every which direction, and they just never stop until you're on the final brake run. It is an absolute rush of a ride, and it deservedly earns a 10 out of 10 for intensity. For duration, from a POV I can get from the ride, I can assume it to be about 45 to 50 seconds of solid action, from the launch lift to the final brake run engaging with the train. The very solid, yet average ride time. I do want to give this ride credit, though, for feeling like it doesn't feel short. There are some rides that are only 45 to 50 seconds long, but they feel short. Lightning Rod feels longer than 45, 50 seconds. It feels like it goes on for longer than that. And because of this, I'm going to give it a slightly higher score. It's still going to get a 5 out of 10 for duration, but I think that obviously the length is not this ride's strong suit. It is really hard for a ride to get a 10 out of 10 on length when it comes to these types of coasters, especially one as aggressive and fast-paced as Lightning Rod in most RMCs. Moving on, we have the airtime. This is something that I honestly think is a little controversial with this ride. The airtime here is, of course, good. It's made by RMC. You're going to have plentiful and copious ejector airtime, but compared to the other coasters made by RMC, I feel like this thing gives less airtime than other RMC coasters, particularly the likes of Steel Vengeance and even Storm Chaser and Wicked Cyclone give more airtime than this thing, probably because they have more moments overall. The airtime isn't as much stronger than other things. Of course, you have moments like the quad down, which is absolutely ridiculous. But really, other than the quad down, there's only a couple isolated moments of airtime. There's the drop and in the back row, really. And then there's a couple off-axis air moments before you get to the quad down, which is your main source of airtime. I mean, I'm not going to deny, the quad down has ridiculous airtime, and you're picking up speed and jutting and dancing left and right while doing so. But, of course, just because of the less copious amounts of airtime as well as it not being as strong, even compared to other RMCs, I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10. Still far above average, and this thing has some excellent airtime. But I think the quad down is a little overrated. I think that I still think the airtime here is less than other RMCs, but it's a good ride in its every own way, or good airtime in its own way. We have the restraints. Now, this, I think, is the ride's kryptonite. They're nothing out of the ordinary when it comes to the lap bars. They are just the typical RMC lap bars with the RMC shin guards and the rather typical low accommodations for larger riders that RMC trains provide. The big thing about these Lightning Rod's restraints is actually that, as you can tell by the left photo, this ride has headrests. That is something RMC is not usually including on their rides. They typically just have a pad, that back of your train or back of your seat for your lower and middle back, maybe your upper back if you're a smaller rider. But the headrest has, like, a lightning rod has headrest for some reason, and they are hard. These are the worst part of the ride, hands down. They literally actually keep your hands down as well, because if your hands are up, with the forces and lateral G's, your head and shoulders especially are going to slam into the headrest repeatedly at a variety of different speeds and angles. Like, I couldn't keep my arms up on the quad down in the back row because I was being thrown around into the headrest so much. If it was like a standard RMC train, I would have just been able to have my hands fly around wherever. I don't care where they went. They just weren't my shoulders weren't slamming into the back of this headrest. And this ride enlightened me to why RMCs decide to forego headrests typically. Keeping my hands up is not an option on this, and I actually have to ride somewhat defensively in order to make sure I don't clock my head or shoulders with the pain of hitting the headrest at a high velocity. It's not fun, but it's not terrible either. It's just something else you have to worry about and something extra you have to worry about compared to other RMCs. This is definitely the low light of the ride, are these headrests, and such a small difference it means so much to the ride experience to me. I am usually very stern and gatekeepy on smoothness, and speaking of smoothness, this thing is still quite smooth. It is a little rougher than the average RMC, mostly due to this being almost 5 years old now, or 4 or 5 years old, and running with topper track due to the steel iBox track. But there are rougher RMCs, particularly when I've been on like Outlaw Run. This thing is still very smooth, and it's it just can be a little bumpy. The back could be a little bumpy, but the headrest is the major issue, and I'm not going to detract the quality of the train running on the track and the smoothness of that doing so. It's solid 8 out of 10 for that one. Theming. The theme here is clearly identifiable. It is themed to, I believe, 1950s hot rods, with the prop cars that are outside of the ride entrance and all around the area, themed that what Lightning Rod occupies. The Q house looks pretty good while being themed to a gas station, and it has plenty of things to look around at, and various themings to the hot rod whole genre. But during the ride, there is basically no theming. From the time you leave the station, you are done with the theming. There's barely anything to even look at. You're just experiencing the ride, which honestly, you don't really need much of a theme for a ride like this. The quality of the ride bolstered itself. But the theming is better than some other coasters, and even coasters in the same park, because this one has better theming than those. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. The theme is identifiable, but it goes a little bit more above average, or not a little bit above average, but a little bit above minimalistic, but not to the point to where it's actually going to make much of an impact on the ride. The launch. This is the bonus category. Every coaster gets those first 7 categories for more or less, but only some coasters have a launch. This ride is the only RMC to feature a launch, and this is a good thing because, well, the launch was the reason this ride is infamous for its unreliability. The launch only goes about 45 miles an hour up an incline, but it's a fantastic way to kick off the ride and really keeps the theme intact with speed, more so than a chain lift would. And the launch, honestly, is a lot more forceful than I first expected it to be. I think it's actually, it was deceivingly powerful, especially since you're going up an incline. You're almost pegged to the back of your seat, and there's no point in trying to resist it. Yeah, the ride starts off with a bang with this launch. It's still not a perfect launch. It's not like a TTD Maverick 8, or it's not like, well, if it was double the speed, it would be unsafe, but of course, other launches are better than this, but it gets a solid 6 out of 10, above average, and really works well with the ride. A launched lift is something that is very ambitious, and unfortunately it didn't pay off until they started getting it more consistent. They did actually have a point where the launch was the entire way up the lift hill, but it now stops about for the last 20-30% of the lift hill, unless the train crests the underneath that triangular structure at a more reasonable speed before going into those elements. I wish I could have ridden Lightning Rod with the full launch intact for whatever that would have been worth. So overall, its total score of all the categories added up is a 52 out of 80, which gives it an average score of 6.5. But my score is always very different than these average scores. I'm going to be giving it a 9.5. A 9.5 out of 10. It is so close to perfect. But if you know anything about me and my way of ranking coasters, I rarely ever give 10s. You have to be an absolutely phenomenal coaster in every way and respect in order to get a 10. And only one coaster has joined the 10 club from an official review on my channel, which is Steel Vengeance. But that being said, a 9.5 out of 10 is still extremely good. Really, the only flaw with this ride is the headrest and the fact that I can't really keep my hands up on this ride because of it. But I want to say that everything else is absolutely phenomenal with this ride. I highly recommend going out to Dollywood, not only just to ride this several times, but also enjoy the beautiful park that is Dollywood itself. And when you're there, I know you want to get there eventually. If you're not going to go there, go there. Just go there. If you're going to go back, go back. Get the frickin' cinnamon bread. Get several loaves of the cinnamon bread. Just enjoy it while you're there. And enjoy Lightning Rod too. But if it goes down, sorry. But yeah, get the cinnamon bread too. So that's it for this video. It's been Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays to whatever has happened over the past for your winter festivities. I haven't uploaded a video since before I left before my finals week, so it's been quite a while. Almost New Year's now, and this will be my last video. The first video of 2020 will be my tentative plans for the spring and summer of 2020, with potential trips I'll go on. And trust me, I got a relatively exciting year coming up. I'll tell you what my plans are come the new year, but for now, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscription, and as always, I wish you guys peace.